Hey guys, in this video I will show you how to play Tejo on Split, and we'll start right here when you are attacking with its first ability, the drone. So all what this does is, it's pretty much as the SOA drone, however it's running on the ground like the Skydog, and all the way you can get pretty far into the side. And don't forget, before the timer on it runs out, you just want to try to jump and left click with your mouse so that way you can scan or enable enemies to use their utility. So that's one of the ways. Definitely when you are going inside, make sure you clear all of the corners and look at all of these spots so that your teammates know where the enemies are or are not. Or of course you can go into the heaven where it would get you once again quite far. And once again, before the timer rounds out, you want to jump and try to scan, and it would scan anyone in the line of the sight when the drone pops, or whoever can see the drone. So that's one of the ways how you can use it on A. On mid it works perfectly fine as well. You can do it either from these spots at the start of the round, or depends where you wanna use it, and then you can just simply take picture of anyone who would be, not picture, but the scan of them on site. Of course you can be using it a bit sooner, but definitely if you use it here it still gets you pretty far and you will get enough information out of it. If you are going on B, once again, you can use it instantly in B main, and once again it's gonna get you very far away, and you can just once again try to get all of the information about all of these spots when you are coming in. And the only spot that you would have to worry about would be anyone in heaven, since you cannot see that far. But if you would pop it, for example, right here, anyone in the heaven would get scanned once again. On defend there are pretty much 3 ways or times when you wanna use it. One of them would be at the start of the round. So that's way you know if the enemies are coming in, and if they are not here, you can try to go with the drone and try to lurk. The other way would be any time in the mid round to get the info where the enemies are. Doesn't matter where you are using it. Once again, make sure that you are covered and the enemies are not really behind the corner here, so that they can swing and kill you, since it takes a while to exit out of the drone and before you get the weapon into your hand. And the last one would be when for the retake. So definitely you want to be using it and try to gain as much space and info for your team, and so that way you know where you want to be committing your utility at. So for example, just get the info and try to get enemies out of the corners where they have been. And the same thing would work anywhere here on mid or B. So for example on mid this would work nicely, since you can run all the way here, get info about anyone right here, and you can get yourself pretty far in front of B as well. The next ability is a stun. There are 2 ways how to use it. You can either left click and it's gonna stick on the wall where it lands, or you can right click so that way it bounces. So there's plenty of ways on the A side when you are entering, when attacking. You can for example bounce off the wall right there, so that way it gets anyone right here. You can also be bouncing it off the wall like this, so that way it's gonna pop on the corner and anyone would be holding you from this spot would have to fall back, since they would be stunned. This ability I would say is pretty situational. There is hundreds of ways how to use it. The good thing about it is that you can equip it pretty fast and use it as quickly as well. And another great thing about it is if you use it for example on the wall right here, it's gonna go through the wall on the other side. As long as anyone is in the radius of it, they are still gonna be stunned by this. So I don't really think there's plenty of lineups. There's of course plenty of ways how to get deeper, for example with the bounces like these, so that way you know that. And however, I would recommend you just try it in the game and have a feel for it, and then you would know where it's the best to use. For example right here on mid there's hundreds of ways. Once again, you can be bouncing off the wall and trying to stun anyone right here, and if you have a teammate in this spot he can try to swing this corner, so anyone who would be there would be a free kill for him. When attacking on B, you can for example bounce off the walls like these, so that the way enemies who would be in these corners would have a hard time like that. And definitely give this a shot. Once again, you don't really have to throw it with the bounce like this. You can also send it here, but it won't go that far, unlike the other one that you have bounce off, for example like this. It also works great for stopping the pushes. So for example, if the enemies are coming, you can do this, or anyone coming from B main, once again do this, try to surprise them with it, and if you combine it with your teammate who might be trying to pick with it, it's gonna work only better, as you can see, since this can go a bit deeper and you would have a quite hard time getting the timing correct. But of course, as you can see, it's always possible to do it like that. Next ability which he has is his signature ability, and it's guided salva. You can send it anywhere in the radius, pretty much the same way as the brim smokes, and anywhere where you click on the map, it's gonna send two Molotovs, something like that, and you can get a kill on anyone hiding there or get them out of the spot. So when you are pushing in, I would recommend you to get this corner pretty much always, and the other one can be anywhere here. What I would like to do, usually like to do, is send one right here and the other one in this spot, so that way no one can be peeking us from these corners and everyone right here has to peek out. And then only you have to clear these two spots, and in the meantime the enemies can be still peeking here, but you can always, you should be all getting a bit more space and you have enough time to get into the site. You can also send one into the heaven, but it's quite difficult to do since there's a bit more space where the enemies can be, since there's always gonna be this little gap, but it only depends how you wanna use it. You wanna be using this ability with your drones when you are getting info where the enemies are. And when you are defending, there's hundreds of ways once again. Depending where the smoke is, I usually like to place it behind the smoke when I know where the enemies want to push in. So for example, do them like this, so that way the enemies would have a hard time choosing and try to hide where to go when they come out of the smoke. Or you can also do it if they have a Sova or Sky. You can try to kill them if they are, for example, droning or using the dog from any of these spots, and you know that they are using it here. Just simply send some of your util here, and if they are still in the dog, they should be a free kill since they won't have enough time to run out of it. This ability works right here, or I mean on the split, very nicely, since there's a lot of narrow spots, as you can see, and you can try to kill the enemies who might be in spots hiding right here, or if you are on the B side, once again, anyone in the back, for example like this, you can cover this whole area if you are coming from the B main. There's hundreds of ways how to use this, and all of these ways would work nicely for you. Another way would be to use this ability for post plant. I would recommend you to use one before you enter, and the other one is gonna regenerate quite quickly, and you can send the missiles on the spike as soon as the enemy stop the spike. So you have to take into account that it's gonna take a while for these missiles to get on the spike and for them to start dealing damage. So you wanna do it as soon as the enemies start defusing. Overall, if you are just simply pushing in, I would recommend do one right here and the other one right like this, so that way the enemies cannot really swing you here and they would have to fall back there into an awkward spot where it should be easier for you to kill them. And lastly, there's your ultimate. There are 4 ways, I would say, how to use them. When attacking, you can either use it to gain space onto the site, so for example like this, so that way no one is hiding or playing there. Once again, you want to be using it with the information if you have it, if there's no one playing, or where the enemies are playing, I mean. Another way would be for a post plant, so let's say that you plant it anywhere in this area. You can simply just send your ability there, hundreds of ways how to use it, and anyone who would stick the defuse would always die there. But however, have in mind, as you can see, it's gonna take a while until the ultimate starts, so that way enemies can usually halve the spike before it even gets them. So even if you kill them, the spike can be halved, so you should have that in mind. And the other 2 ways would be for defense. One of them would be simply for retake, so if you are retaking a site, I think it's a great example to use it here, since you can be doing stuff like this. It's gonna cover the whole site and most of the elbow, and the spots which you didn't cover, you can send your missiles there into the common spots, and enemies would have to peek out and stand awkwardly in these 2 spots, and you should tell this information to your team, so that way they are ready for the enemies to peek out and they can be holding it and playing with your utility. And the other way would be using it so that way you have info where the enemies are. If you know that they are committed onto ramp and A main, you can for example do stuff like this and you can get some free kills. And all your teammates have to do would be try to hold anyone who would be trying to come out. For example, out of smoke, they would be right here, or just hold the B main, I mean A main, when they would be going there. Another spot where it's gonna work very nicely would be right here in the middle, since as you can see, it's gonna cover the whole mid area.
This is how it ends.
And anyone who would be going here can be just simply holding like this, and the only way for them is to get out of the mid as soon as possible. But if they are committed and they are already on these stairs, usually they won't have enough time to react to it to get out of the ultimate before it hits them. The same thing works like right here on B. You can use it either when you are pushing in, so one of the ways would be to, for example, cover this whole area, but I don't think it's really worth it to use it like this. Once again, you should be using it with the info that you have. You can be using it, for example, in the garage, like this, so that way you hit the whole garage on everyone who would be playing there. Or if the enemies are committed once again to the push, you can simply do this. Or once again for a retake, where if you use it like this, it's gonna get anyone out of these spots, like that.
This is how it ends.
And as you can see, the only spots where the enemies really can be would be deep in the garage or fighting in these two spots. So that way you can once again send there your missiles as soon as possible, and they really have nowhere to play, and it should be a free retake for your team. So yeah, that's about this character on Split. I hope this video is gonna be helpful for you guys. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and see you guys soon. Bye.